Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time, they talk down to us, they think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Without further ado, let's get to it. We are talking about Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. Sean Payton has recently made some comments about that he is exceeding his expectations and exactly what they thought that he would be. And there's just a building excitement around Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos and kind of how quickly are they going to be competitive. It seems to be kind of split between how long people think this process will take, whether or not Bo Nix is indeed a good quarterback. You all know that I'm super high on Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. So let's take a listen to the clip and we'll break it down from there.
I would have thought they had met in person before, Adam. But anyway, what have you heard about Nix's first full set of practices at rookie camp last week?
Dan, by all accounts, he looks sharp. And I go back to Bo Nix's pro day when the Broncos were out there for that. And the night after that pro day, before they had a private workout scheduled for him the next day, they essentially gave him 3 pamphlets of installation for their offense and told him to learn it at 8 o'clock that night for 8 o'clock the next morning. And it was like studying for a final, and Bo Nix walked in.
I just want to point this out real fast. 4,500 passing yards, 4,500 passing yards, 45 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions in 14 games. I don't care who you are. That is insane numbers. You can come up with all these excuses that he threw short passes, this, that. I don't care. That is insane numbers. Insane numbers. There's no excuse as to why that isn't unbelievably amazing numbers. There's no argument against it. Zero. None. No matter who you are, no matter what the offense is, no matter who you're playing, that is insane.
The next morning and basically knew everything the Broncos had given to him. And then he went out on the field and performed. Similar output this weekend. When he went out there, it looked like he already had an understanding of that offense. He looks sharp. He looks primed to compete for that starting job this summer at training camp. Again, we'll see how it all goes during the preseason, but he has been remarkably sharp, picked up the offense quickly, looks like he'll continue doing that. He's a student of the game. He's accurate. They loved what they saw this weekend, and now the question is whether or not he'll keep it up throughout the course of the summer.
Yeah, this is the perfect quarterback. This is the perfect quarterback for Sean Payton. This is his Drew Brees, right? He runs an offense that he wants to get the ball out of his hand. He wants to quarterback to be accurate, to understand where to go with the ball. If you look at Bo Nix, obviously 77% passing rating. That's what this young man had. He'll get the ball out of his hand. He'll complete passes. You don't have to worry about that. That's what Sean Payton wants. This is where Russell Wilson struggled. He couldn't do that. He couldn't make the quick decision. Sean Payton will get guys open. Just run the offense. That's all you got to do. Complete the ball. Get us in 2nd and 4, which is a bad down for the defense. Defenses hate being in 2nd and 4. That's all he wants, so he can move the chains.
What do you think Bo Nix needs to be working on this summer, Orlovsky?
Ego.
Ego?
Yeah, ego. So his superpower is that consistency that Sean Payton referenced, that Shefty just referenced, that coach is talking about. Now, that's not who he was at Auburn. At Auburn, there was expectations. Highly recruited young man, father played there, and so he was always carrying that burden of, I have to go make all these giant big plays. And it led to all these mistakes. Now, part of it was, yes, certainly a younger player, but there was no consistencies to his game because the expectations were so high, and he constantly tried to meet them on a play-by-play basis. Well, then the young man gets rid of his days at Auburn. He transfers to Oregon. There's very little expectation. People kind of forget about him. There's no familial tie there. And he just becomes this consistent guy. Well, now he's the 12th pick of the draft. And he's going to Sean Payton, who's taken a quarterback that wasn't maybe this physical phenom and won a Super Bowl with him. Coach is saying he's the next Drew Brees, or he's his Drew Brees. Expectations have risen again. Don't fall back into that, I got to go be that guy. Instead, tap into it. Don't get bored with that superpower of consistency on a play-by-play basis, because that's really what got you to that 12th pick, that guy that Sean Payton wanted.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, that's a juicy take. This whole segment was great. I'm glad I found this clip. All right, there's a lot to unpack there. First off, Adam Schefter keeps acting like Bo Nix has to like compete. He's showing some good things. He's showing that he can maybe compete for the starting role. Bo Nix is the starter unless Sean Payton doesn't want him to be. Unless he just wants him to sit out for a year or however long he wants him to sit out. Not that he's not good enough. Bo Nix is the starting quarterback. Bo Nix is the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Okay? Unless Sean Payton's philosophy is like, you know what? I want him to sit for a year. I want him to learn a little bit. I want him to develop. I want him to become a professional, which is totally fair game. I am all for sitting quarterbacks, so it's not like a negative on Bo Nix or saying that he's not good enough. So I just take issue that Schefter keeps making those types of statements. He said it in multiple segments now, and it's like, it's a pet peeve of mine because it's just, I don't think it's accurate. Personally, there's some quarterbacks that are just truly not ready to start, and the other quarterbacks would genuinely beat them out, or the team would be in a better position to win with that quarterback. I do not think Zach Wilson is that quarterback. Just saying. So that's that. Now, I agree with what Coach is talking about, where he's saying, listen, he is the perfect quarterback for Sean Payton. And this is what we've been talking about a lot, is that he is exactly who Sean Payton wants, exactly who Sean Payton can succeed with the Denver Broncos, and what Russell Wilson was not. Russ wasn't this disaster quarterback, right? He wasn't a complete awful disaster quarterback. I know the contract can be seen as a disaster, but we don't have to act like Russ is just not even a backup quarterback. I think we fall too far to the extreme. But at the end of the day, he could not execute what Sean Payton envisioned. And more often than not, Russ could not do some of the little things that would consistently put the Denver Broncos in a position to win games. Because Russ was still capable of making some pretty awesome throws and doing some pretty great things where you're like, well, how could he be bad? Look at that throw he made. Look what he's doing. But that's where football gets a lot more nuanced, and why you watch so much film and all that. And you can see, well, you know what? Maybe he wouldn't have needed to make that throw if he just did this, and this. Like you're putting the team on its back foot too consistently. That's where Bo Nix now comes in. Bo Nix has that foundation, that floor, that should more regularly and more consistently put the Broncos in a position to win these games, where now you don't need someone to be a hero ball, but clearly his numbers prove that he's capable of doing that as well. But again, this is what makes Patrick Mahomes so great, and Tom Brady back in the old days, of course, was that they can do some of these great big plays, but they consistently, what makes Patrick Mahomes actually great is not so much his Mahomes magic. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. It's fun to watch. But Patrick Mahomes is so consistent. He can do all the little things. The way how they won the Super Bowl this past season not only was perfect, was great defense, but specifically in terms of quarterback play, it was not the big plays. It was consistently doing the little things that a lot of other quarterbacks failed to do. Whether it was a C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, even Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. The only quarterback that consistently did some of the little things regularly was indeed Patrick Mahomes. And so I think that's where Bo Nix and Sean Payton can be this match made in heaven. Now, I don't think Bo Nix has a big ego. I that's the first that I've heard of it. I don't know if he maybe means ego. I think ego is. I think Dan is actually mistaken. I don't think he's using the correct word. Personally, I know what he's trying to say, but I don't think ego. I don't think that's the issue personally. When someone has a big ego, I'm thinking someone that thinks that they're God's gift to earth, and I do not get that perception from Bo Nix personally. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see it, right? I get that from Will Levis, kissing his biceps and stuff. I do not get that from Bo Nix. And everyone wants to keep talking about these Auburn days. I do not care. It may have well been 20 years ago. It does not matter. It does not matter, especially in football. Basketball or other sports, I could see the argument a little bit. Football is so situational. It's what who are you with? What is your coaching? What is the offensive scheme? What are you capable of doing at that time? I just don't care what someone did all those years ago. It does not matter. It really, really doesn't. It's why we see plenty of players, both in all sports, college, both football, basketball, whatever, where they have like a decent college career. But again, Patrick Mahomes did not set the college world on fire. Tom Brady didn't set the world on fire. So this whole idea of let's use these Auburn moments as a way to like pull him down. What the heck do you know when you're that age and that young? It's just sometimes it takes a minute. Some people are a little bit late bloomers. And I just think that to even bring that up at this point is just silly. It's seriously, it just doesn't make sense. It really does. I don't see the benefit to it. I don't see it being enlightening. I don't see it teaching us or showing us anything about Bo Nix, because it takes time to learn a quarterback's strengths and weaknesses. That quarterback also learns and matures and grows into his own right. And I just think it's a weird thing that keeps following him. I feel like Bo Nix could win a Super Bowl, could throw for 60 touchdowns and 10,000 yards, and people would still be like, yeah, but what about Auburn? What about Auburn? And it would be like, what about it? The dude just won 17 Super Bowls in a row, and you still want to talk about his time in Auburn? Like, what are we talking about? And I don't understand why that's such a thing that keeps following him. Like, it's a weird criticism that keeps getting brought up in nearly like every Bo Nix segment or criticism, whether it's in the comments or wherever. So I can't make sense of it, but I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton are going to have great success, and I think it's going to happen a lot faster than people realize. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Bo Nix is the next Drew Brees for Sean Payton? Do you think he has an ego that he needs to work on? And do you think he's still competing for the starting role against players like Zach Wilson? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So let's get into it. Let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And as I said before, please do consider subscribing. We really are building an amazing community here, and I really would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.